The menu at Alta is basically a sort of reflection of my experience of going vegan and yet kind of being very disillusioned instantly by what was out there in terms of a vegan offering in London, and also the kind of ideology behind most of the dishes. For me, I watched a documentary by a comedian called Simon Amstel called Carnage, which was set in this vegan future, where we look back at a time with horror at what we used to consider normal. And what's really clear to me is that in the future, in 15 years, 20 years, we will eat less meat, we just will. And I wanted to do a concept that was not about kind of like banging a drum for veganism and saying, hey, come all over this side, we've got enough tribalism in the world and people shouting, no, my side, my side. It was more about discussing a nuance of sort of conscious reducitarianism, if you want to call it. So, you know, in the future, we will consciously not eat meat in the same way we use solar panels and in the same way we insulate our homes rather than, you know, burning all the fossil fuels. It would just be a natural kind of social consciousness to do your bit. So Alta was always about kind of putting a menu forward that was as exciting for people who are fastidiously carnivorous, as well as offering something different for vegans who are very bored with seitan burgers and falafel wraps. So what we do here is mainly look at food through a sort of prism of street food, particularly like escapist things that you may have had on holiday or may have seen on that travel documentary, bring them here, but also to throw away this idea of using substitutes whatsoever. So that was my main complaint with sort of veganism as I found it in this city, is that it was all based around substitutes and kind of replicating our old diet, just with worse things that were compromised on flavor, compromised on texture, and we're just like doing the same thing again. So the first thing to kind of nail to the post with Alta was that, okay, we don't do substitutes. Where does that put us? What dishes do we need to do in order to be interesting and push things forward there? So that was the attack, really. So we jump across all areas of the world. We're, you know, my background is heavily in Asian style cooking, but that varies from sort of Vietnamese, Chinese, Thai, Malaysian, Japanese. So there's a lot of ground to cover there. We've also got a couple of Indian dishes on the menu. There's an Italian dish on the menu. In the future, there will be Ethiopian, Mexican dishes on the menu. So we jump around, but it's all cohesive, hopefully. And it's all fun and kind of inspires that sense of travel and culture and escapism. So we're actually going to be doing cow soy laksa. It's a dish that kind of perfectly replicates what we're trying to do here. So in itself, it is a combination of two dishes from two very different places. It is half cow soy noodles, which is a Chinese influenced Thai dish. The other half of it is a Malaysian laksa, which we're a little bit more familiar with in this in the city. Laksas have become part of our vernacular now, but maybe not a vegan one. So as I said, it's a dish that came originally from the Yunnan province in China, traveled down to Chiang Mai in northern Thailand, where they don't use coconut cream. It's more prevalent in central and southern Thailand. So it's kind of gone through 3-4 layers of kind of cultures adding things to it, which I loved. It's like it sort of signifies this idea of learning from each other and being interested about how to improve something, and you know, everyone pulling on the strings of one idea. So it's at its core, it is a kind of red curry soup of sorts with a lot of coconut cream, a lot of dry spices, and it's all about the things that you add and all the little garnishes and things that you can, ways you can customize the dish. So there's limes, you can squeeze lime juice in to sour the broth. You've got fermented mustard greens, which we make in-house, to kind of add a bit of funk and soul. And then there's all kinds of alliums. There's deep fried noodles as well for changes of texture. So it's a dish that is just pure fun and really about like history and what can be gained by kind of learning from each other and sharing in recipes and ideas.